Imagine being on top of the world, an NBA star, a future legend, and then in an instant, it's all ripped away. Some of the league's brightest talents didn't just fade. They were taken by tragedies so shocking they shook the entire basketball world. From devastating crashes to heartbreaking health conditions that doctors only uncovered after death.
At this point, it's cardiorespiratory arrest.
These are the 25 NBA players who died the most tragic deaths. And just when you think you've heard the worst of it, wait until we get to number 1, an unforgettable collapse broadcast live in front of millions. Let's begin with number 25, Reggie Lewis. Reggie Lewis wasn't just another Celtic. He was the man Boston believed would carry the franchise into the post-Larry Bird era. At just 27 years old, he was already an all-star, a silky smooth scorer who averaged over 20 points a game. But in 1993, during a playoff matchup against the Charlotte Hornets, Lewis suddenly collapsed on the floor. Doctors gave conflicting reports. Some claimed he had a rare and dangerous heart condition called cardiomyopathy.
Hornets and was diagnosed very accurately and very quickly as having cardiomyopathy heart disease.
Others suggested it was only a fainting spell. Against medical advice, Lewis tried to return to light workouts, but during a quiet off-season scrimmage at Brandeis University, he collapsed again and this time never got up. Boston was devastated. The city had barely recovered from losing Len Bias 7 years earlier. Lawsuits followed, doctors blamed each other, and the Celtics were left without their future. Fans still whisper, if Reggie had lived, maybe the dynasty never would have ended. Next on our list at number 24, Len Bias. Few names haunt Celtics fans more than Len Bias. In 1986, he was drafted 2nd overall, right after Brad Daugherty, and just ahead of Chuck Person. But many believed Bias was the one player who could rival Michael Jordan. His strength, athleticism, and smooth jumper made scouts drool. Boston thought they had just stolen their next superstar, but tragedy struck less than 48 hours later. Bias went back to his Maryland campus to celebrate. What followed was one of the darkest nights in sports history. He collapsed in his dorm after using cocaine. Media outlets screamed crack epidemic, though Dr. Edward Wilson of Leyland Hospital examined Bias and said it's cardiorespiratory arrest.
At this point, it's cardiorespiratory arrest.
He was just 22 years old. His death didn't just shatter the Celtics, it changed America. Lawmakers passed harsher drug laws in response, laws that critics say unfairly targeted minorities. And in basketball circles, the what if remains painful. Fans still argue, if Len Bias had lived, maybe Jordan wouldn't have dominated the way he did. At number 23, we have Dražen Petrovic. Known as the Mozart of basketball, Dražen Petrovic was the pride of Croatia and one of the NBA's earliest international stars. By 1993, he had blossomed into the New Jersey Nets' best player, averaging over 22 points a game and making the All-NBA third team. He had just entered his prime. But instead of flying home with his teammates after the season, Petrovic joined his girlfriend for a road trip across Germany. A storm rolled in, the Autobahn grew slick, and a truck jackknifed across the road. Dražen, asleep in the passenger seat without a seatbelt, died instantly. He was just 28. Tens of thousands of fans in Zagreb flooded the streets to honor him. To this day, Croatians say Dražen would have been the Luka Doncic before Luka. He could have been the first European to truly dominate the NBA. Instead, his legacy remains one of the greatest what-ifs in basketball history. Sliding in at number 22, Kobe Bryant. This one still hurts. On the 26th of January 2020, the world woke up to unthinkable news. Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others had died in a helicopter crash in Calabasas, California. Kobe wasn't just a 5-time champion. He was the embodiment of Mamba mentality, a cultural icon whose influence reached far beyond the game. Gianna was just 13, already showing signs she could carry his basketball legacy into the WNBA. The world stopped. Murals went up across Los Angeles. The NBA renamed the All-Star MVP trophy after him. Players across the league, from LeBron James to Trae Young, cried openly on the court. Fans said it best, legends aren't supposed to die, and if they do, not like this. Kobe was 41, Gianna was 13. A loss so cruel, it still feels unreal. Coming in at number 21, Malik Sealy. In May of 2000, tragedy struck the Minnesota Timberwolves family. Malik Sealy, a versatile forward known for his energy and charisma, was driving home late at night after celebrating Kevin Garnett's birthday. On that dark Minnesota highway, a drunk driver barreled the wrong way and crashed head-on into Sealy's SUV. Malik was killed instantly. He was only 30 years old, still in his prime. The news broke Garnett, who openly called Malik his brother, on and off the court. Years later, when the Timberwolves retired Garnett's jersey, he quietly honored Seeley by wearing Malik's number 2 jersey underneath. To this day, fans in Minnesota still talk about Seeley not just as a player, but as a beloved figure whose smile, leadership, and friendship were stolen too soon. His legacy remains etched in Wolves history, larger than the game itself. At number 20, we have Lorenzen Wright. This one feels straight out of a crime documentary. In July of 2010, former Memphis Grizzlies big man Lorenzen Wright, once a hometown hero, vanished without a trace. For 9 agonizing days, his family and the city searched for answers. Then came the grim discovery. His body was found in a wooded field outside Memphis, riddled with bullet wounds. Even more chilling, investigators uncovered a 911 call placed from his phone the night he disappeared, with the sound of gunshots before the line abruptly went dead. For years, the case grew cold. Then, in 2017, the bombshell dropped. Wright's ex-wife, Shara Wright, was arrested for conspiring with Billy Ray Turner to kill him.
In which Shara Wright, Billy Turner, and he planned the murder of Lorenzen Wright.
Turner was later convicted, and Shara pled guilty. Wright was just 34, a father of 6, and his murder remains one of the darkest scandals in NBA history. Sliding into number 19, Manute Bol. At 7'7", Manute Bol was impossible to miss on the court. He blocked over 2,000 shots in just 10 NBA seasons, but what truly defined him was his heart. Bol gave away nearly all his NBA earnings to aid refugees in his war-torn homeland of Sudan. He built schools, campaigned for peace, and became a symbol of sacrifice. But years of humanitarian work wore down his health. After battling a rare skin disease and kidney failure, Bol died in 2010 at around 47 years old. Fans remembered him not only as a giant of basketball, but a giant of humanity. As one fan tweeted, "Manute Bol blocked more shots off the court than on it. He saved lives." At number 18, Eddie Griffin. Drafted 7th overall in 2001, Eddie Griffin arrived in Houston with expectations of becoming a franchise cornerstone. But behind the scenes, he battled alcoholism, depression, and repeated suspensions. He checked into rehab, yet the demons never fully let go. In 2007, his story ended horrifically driving his SUV through a railroad barrier in Houston, crashing head-on into a moving freight train. The explosion was so severe that investigators identified him only through dental records. He was just 25 years old. Griffin's passing wasn't just an accident, it felt like the final chapter in a long, slow-motion tragedy. A reminder that not all battles are visible, and sometimes the greatest opponent an athlete faces is himself. Next up at number 17, Conrad McRae. Conrad McRae was never a household NBA name, but to hoop fans he was a legend, a standout at Syracuse, a European star, and a man who refused to let health warnings derail his dream. Diagnosed with arrhythmia, he lived with blackouts and medical caution signs flashing everywhere. Still, he chased the NBA. On the 10th of July 2000, during an Orlando Magic Summer League practice, McRae collapsed mid-sprint and never got up. He was 29. An autopsy couldn't pinpoint a clear cause, though teammates knew his heart was fragile. What makes his story haunting is the sacrifice knowing the risks. He chose the game anyway. His death stands as the cost of relentless ambition, a dream that demanded everything. At number 16, Nick Vanos. The Phoenix Suns saw Nick Vanos as their future big man. A 7'2" center out of Santa Clara, he had finally begun to show flashes of promise heading into his 3rd season. But on August 16, 1987, his life was cut short in one of America's worst aviation disasters. Vanos and his fiancée Carolyn Cohen boarded Northwest Flight 255 inches Detroit. Minutes after takeoff, the plane crashed, killing 154 people on board. Only one passenger, a 4-year-old girl, survived. Vanos was just 24. For the Suns, it was devastating, losing not only a developing cornerstone, but a man whose life was just beginning. His death remains forever tied to the heartbreak of Flight 255. Sliding in at number 15, Jason Collier. Jason Collier was the kind of player teammates trusted dependable, grounded, and respected in every locker room. Drafted in 2000, he carved out a steady role as a center with the Hawks. But on the 15th of October 2005, tragedy struck. In the middle of the night, his wife woke to find him gasping for air. She tried CPR, frantically called 911, and prayed for help. Paramedics briefly found a pulse, but his heart stopped in the ambulance. Collier was only 28. An autopsy revealed an enlarged heart, a condition that had gone unnoticed. He left behind his wife and a 2-year-old daughter. the Hawks canceled practice, mourning not just a player but a man teammates called a gentle giant. Next at number 14, Fab Melo. Fab Melo's story was one of promise that never had time to recover. At Syracuse, he was a defensive monster, winning Big East Defensive Player of the Year in 2012. But controversy struck when academic issues made him ineligible for the NCAA tournament, and critics branded him by that mistake. Drafted 22nd by the Boston Celtics, his NBA career never took off, bouncing between the league and the D-League before returning to Brazil. On the 11th of February 2017, Melo was found dead in his sleep at just 26. The cause? Heart failure. Coach Jim Boeheim's words still resonate. It's not fair that he'll be remembered for one mistake. His death was a final blow to a career that deserved redemption. Coming in at number 13, Ricky Berry. In 1988, Sacramento believed Ricky Berry would be the cornerstone of their rebuild. Drafted 18th overall, he delivered a strong rookie season, averaging double figures and showing rare efficiency for a young forward. But on August 14, 1989, tragedy struck. After an argument with his wife, Berry took his own life with a single gunshot at just 24 years old. A note was found but never released publicly. Teammates and coaches were blindsided, insisting there were no warning signs. His death sent shockwaves through Sacramento, leaving fans devastated and confused. It remains one of the NBA's most haunting stories, a reminder that even bright careers can hide silent pain. Success on the court couldn't shield him from despair. Sliding in at number 12, Bobby Feuds. Bobby Feuds wasn't just a player, he was the soul of the Charlotte Hornets. Known as a defensive stopper and a community leader, he was beloved in the locker room and admired off the court. But on the 12th of January 2000, everything changed. After practice, Feuds and teammate David Wesley left in their Porsches, reportedly speeding on a Charlotte road. Feuds lost control, colliding head-on with another car, killing him instantly at just 30 years old. The Hornets retired his number 13, their first ever, and teammates spoke of his unmatched character. His wife and 2 children lost a husband and father. A moment of joy after practice turned into a tragedy that reshaped the Hornets forever. Next on our list at number 11, Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain was a walking myth. A 100-point game, averaging 50 points in a season, grabbing 55 rebounds in a single night. He never fouled out of a game in 14 seasons. He was the Goliath of basketball. Yet on October 12, 1999, the giant fell. Chamberlain died of heart failure at his Bel Air home at 63. In his final months, he lost over 50 pounds after battling infections and fatigue, shocking fans who had always seen him as invincible. For many, his passing was the ultimate reminder. Even giants answered to time. Wilt's records remain untouchable, but his death proved that legends, no matter how towering, are still human. At number 10, Jack Haley. Jack Haley wasn't known for stats, he was known for spirit. Over 9 NBA seasons, he became the ultimate glue guy, a role player who kept locker rooms steady. He won a championship with the '96 Bulls, serving as Dennis Rodman's trusted confidant and the team's emotional anchor. After retirement, he coached, worked as a broadcaster, and stayed close to the game. But in March 2015, tragedy struck. Haley died of heart disease at just 51. Teammates remembered him as the heart of the locker room, the guy who lifted spirits, cracked jokes, and kept the grind fun. His story proves that sometimes the most important teammates are measured not in points, but in presence. Coming in at number 9, Robert "Tractor" Traylor. Robert Traylor was a powerhouse at Michigan, drafted 6th overall in 1998. His name is forever tied to the trade that sent Dirk Nowitzki to Dallas, a what-if moment in NBA history. But Traylor's career was overshadowed by weight struggles and heart problems. In 2005, he underwent aortic surgery yet fought to continue his career overseas. In 2011, while playing in Puerto Rico, he was on the phone with his wife when the line went dead. Teammates found him collapsed from a fatal heart attack at just 34. Known as a gentle giant, his kindness left as much impact as his game. Fans mourn not just the player, but the man with a smile bigger than basketball itself. Sliding in at number 8, Terry Furlow. Terry Furlow was drafted by the 76 ERs in 1976 and quickly earned a reputation as a fearless scorer. By the time he joined the Utah Jazz, he was averaging 16 points a game, his career best. But off the court, he fell victim to the NBA's cocaine epidemic. On May 23, 1980, after a night of partying in Cleveland, Furlow lost control of his Mercedes and crashed into a utility pole. Toxicology reports later revealed cocaine and Valium in his system. He was just 25. Magic Johnson, one of his closest friends, said the loss devastated him. Furlow's death remains a reminder of how substance abuse nearly consumed the league in that era, stealing away promising stars far too soon. At number 7, Maurice Stokes. Maurice Stokes was one of the brightest stars of the 1950 seconds, averaging nearly 17 points and 18 rebounds a game in just his third season. But in 1958, after hitting his head in a game, he collapsed on a flight days later. Diagnosed with post-traumatic encephalopathy, he was left paralyzed for life. His teammate Jack Twyman became his legal guardian, raising money and caring for him until Stokes' death in 1970 at age 36. Their friendship inspired books and even a film, Maury. Stokes' story remains one of the NBA's saddest tragedies. His career ended by one freak accident, and his life defined by courage, friendship, and the heartbreaking cost of the game he loved. Coming in at number 6, Nate Thurmond. Nate Thurmond was never the flashiest name, but to players and purists, he was one of the greatest defensive centers ever. A 7-time All-Star and Hall of Famer, he became the first player in NBA history to record a quadruple-double. His jersey is retired by both the Warriors and Cavaliers, a testament to his impact. Off the court, he was humble and beloved, opening a San Francisco restaurant and later serving as a Warriors ambassador. In 2016, he passed away just weeks after being diagnosed with leukemia at 74. Tributes poured in from across the league. LeBron James called him a true legend from Akron. For those who knew the game, Thurmond was as great as any. At number 5, Ben Wilson. Ben Wilson, known as Benji, was the #1 high school player in America in 1984. A 6'8" forward from Chicago Simeon, he was called Magic Johnson with a jump shot and was destined for NBA stardom. But the day before his senior season opener, he got into an argument outside a store. A gun was pulled and Wilson was shot twice. He died the next day at just 17. His death shattered Chicago, where thousands attended his funeral. Derrick Rose later wore Wilson's number 25 at Simeon in tribute. ESPN's 30 for 30. Benji keeps his legacy alive, a reminder of a legend gone before his career could even begin. Sliding in at number 4, Hawthorne Wingo. Hawthorne Wingo was never a superstar, but in Madison Square Garden, he was a cult hero. Fans loved his hustle, awkward jump shot, and infectious smile, chanting "Wingo, Wingo" whenever he checked in. A key role player, he was part of the Knicks' 1973 championship team and even got immortalized in a Beastie Boys lyric. My favorite New York Knick was Hawthorne Wingo. After basketball, his life grew quieter, far from the Garden's bright lights. In 2021, he passed away at 73. For Knicks fans, it was bittersweet as fame faded, but his memory never did. Wingo's story proves that you don't need to be a star to be unforgettable. At number 3, Quentin Dailey. Quentin Dailey was one of the best scorers in college basketball, earning All-American honors at the University of San Francisco. Drafted by the Chicago Bulls in 1982, he averaged over 15 points a game as a rookie. But his career was stained by controversy, including legal troubles and substance abuse, and he never lived up to his potential. Later in life, Dailey sought redemption, working at a Las Vegas community center to mentor at-risk youth. On the 8th of November 2010, he died of hypertensive cardiovascular disease at just 49. Fans remember him as complicated, flawed, yes, but also committed to giving back. His story remains a bittersweet reminder that redemption is possible, even if cut short too soon. Coming in at number 2, Caleb Swanigan. Caleb "Biggie" Swanigan's story was inspiring from the start. He overcame homelessness and poverty to become Indiana's Mr. Basketball in 2015, later starring at Purdue, where he was named Big Ten Player of the Year. Drafted in the first round by the Portland Trail Blazers in 2017, his future looked bright. But after leaving the NBA, he battled weight issues and health struggles. Viral photos showing his decline shocked fans. On the 20th of June 2022, Swanigan died of natural causes linked to obesity at just 25. His passing was heartbreaking. Fans mourned a man who beat poverty but couldn't overcome his personal demons. His life remains both an inspiration and a tragedy. And finally, at number 1, Hank Gathers. March 4, 1990. Loyola Marymount was facing Portland in the West Coast Conference Tournament. Hank Gathers, just 23 years old, the nation's leading scorer and rebounder, threw down a thunderous alley-oop dunk. But seconds later, he collapsed at midcourt. Trainers rushed over. Gathers tried to stand, insisting, "I don't want to lay down." Moments later, he stopped breathing. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. The cause? Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a heart condition he had been prescribed medication for. But here's the haunting part. Gathers hated how the meds slowed him down. Reports suggest he cut his dosage before the tournament. If true, that decision may have cost him his life. His funeral drew thousands. Loyola Marymount, devastated, still made a miracle run to the Elite Eight that March, dedicating every game to Hank. To this day, his name stands as one of the most tragic losses in basketball history. These 25 stories remind us of a painful truth. No matter how much fame, talent, or money you have, life is fragile. Some of these players were legends already. Others never even had the chance to become one. But every name on this list left behind a story too powerful to forget. So now I'll ask you, whose story shook you the most? And if you had the power to change history, which one of these tragedies would you undo first? Because if this is just a glimpse into the NBA's history of loss, you can only imagine how many more stories are still waiting to be told.